I think we're live. Ladies and gentlemen, interwebs, welcome to the Beacon TVL show, the weekly podcast from Beacon DeFi, your beacon in the world of decentralized finance. I'm your host, Professor Chris, the DeFi professor, and today we've got a great show lined up for you as we tackle the news of the week that's relevant to you, our dear users in the world of on-chain investing. Today on the show, we have our first rotating panelist beneath me. He is FaceDocs, ladies and gentlemen, thanks to Token 2049, actually probably Korea Blockchain Week. Fresh from his 3 weeks in Southeast Asia, where he rubbed shoulders with the best in the world in our space, head of ecosystem for Drosera Networks. Please welcome Jirachi back on the show. How are you, sir? Man, my wife uses this app, man. Not good, not good.
I'm fantastic. I'm still a little run down. I'm a little bit jet lagged still, but I've pretty much caught back up. I'm right in that correct space again. And it's good to see you, brother. I know we haven't hopped on in over a month now. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. Yeah, we talked to you right before you left, so really happy to see you back, and yeah, excited to get your takes and hear your thoughts. Let's introduce our featured panelists today, guys, from the VDEX. That we'll learn more in just a little bit. Founder of VDEX, we have Jose with us. Welcome to the show, sir. How's your week going so far?
Thank you for having me. It's been going great. We're off some exciting launches, and I'm looking forward to talk about them with you.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited about today. There's just a lot of craziness going on, really just in the markets in DeFi since you've been on, Jirachi. The market is kind of just gone a bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. It's in the title, actually. We specifically with BTC and BNB just seeing some all-time highs. It wasn't all that long ago that BTC was literally just, BNB was at like $700. It wasn't that long ago. And really, it wasn't that long ago since we were down at 210, to be honest. So it's crazy that, we are at this point in the market. What do you think? Sorry, Jirachi, we'll start with you.
I would continue to say it's like confusing, but I guess ultimately it's really not that confusing. We're headed for the end of the year. Traditionally speaking, last month was really like the worst performing, like our terror month, like where things are usually kind of bad and we're having a bad time. But it seems like that's not the case. We came out of last month still doing pretty strong. Something tells me it will continue to be like that headed into the end of the year. And then, of course, we've seen this insane like just coming out swinging left and right hooks from BNB. So it's been a very interesting time. I can tell you from the conference that was a lot of what people were talking about, just the state of the market right now and how things were going to play out over the next couple of months. So it's exciting. It's a good time.
And Jose, you're being, having a perp dex. I mean, this is pretty much just fantastic price action, really. I mean, watching these charts between BTC and ETH, which for the most part traveled together fairly well, but seeing BNB buck that trend and outperform everybody, man, what a past couple of months, eh?
Yes, it's been very exciting. Not only that, but we're actually a Binance Labs incubation project, so closely aligned with the team. We've just increased the leverage on BNB to 20x just earlier today so that users can take advantage of the increased price action. So we've seen BNB slowly climbing the leaderboard on our all-time charts. And now I believe after today, we'll be at around, past Solana, past Ethereum as the number 2 most popular pair on VDEX.
Yeah, and BNB, for guys who have been watching, this was not at 3 last week. We are now at the point where BNB has flipped XRP in regards to market cap. So congrats to the team at Binance and everything that people are doing on BNB chains all around the world. I will say, a little bit of alpha, I've been farming this on Beefy. This is Giggle WBNB. And the one thing that's fantastic about Beefy CLM farms, they are great for long farming. And it's auto compounding, auto rebalancing. Yeah, I've been getting anywhere between 7 to 10% daily on this farm, just so you guys know. The key is, due to the way that Beefy creates their limit orders, because they don't use NFTs with their CLM. It's all smart contract and limit orders that they're doing, at the dexes. It's outside the calm zone a lot. I think it took me in excess of 25 tries to get my first deposit in. And I'm trying to put in more. It's taking some time. But as long as assets are appreciating and doing well and not heading downwards, beefy CLMs, unbelievable way to easily farm a lot of high conviction assets that you're looking into. Crypto bubbles real quick. We'll just kind of look at today. I don't know anything about Chain Opera AI, frankly. I don't know if you heard about them at all while you were out east, Jirachi, but interesting week they're having. They must have launched or something like that. I like the logo though. That's a pretty sweet logo.
It's nice to see Mantle have a little week. I've been seeing them slowly. They were hovering like sub $1 no matter what it seemed like, and now they seem like they're up a little bit more. There's some action happening, truly showcasing Bybit's power more than anything, for sure. Agreed.
Great narrative there. Right next to it is an interesting one, the gold narrative, with gold reaching all-time highs. Seeing derivative assets for gold is going to be very interesting. Jose, is that something that you guys are featuring specifically on VDEX?
Yes, it is. In fact, we just increased the leverage for gold as well. So you can now buy and sell gold at 50x leverage on VDEX. It is also one of our most popular pairs. It's hit #1 actually over the weekend when it hit 4,000 per ounce for the first time. So that's quite exciting. Also, I see in the bubbles, Zcash, big privacy believer. VDEX is itself a dark pool. We use zero knowledge technology. So Zcash and Monero, big holdings for myself.
I'm really excited to talk about the virtual rollups and stuff you have behind the scenes as well. So excited to get to that in just a little bit. Interesting, other interesting maybe narratives. Aster down a little bit, which I find interesting. And Ina's still up. Crow is still up. Cake was up bigly last week. They're still on the way up. Very interesting narratives. We'll talk about AVAX as well. There's a lot of interesting narratives that are kind of hiding here in the tea leaves, but that's the reason why we like looking at crypto bubbles, mainly because, from a day to let's look at the month view. That's probably a better way to look at it. Kind of just seeing over this past month, especially just in the second week, we're talking about October. Look at Bybit. Not really going to talk about Zcash because that's an interesting narrative all on its own. But seeing some interesting, wow, EtherFi up 46 over the month. Same with BNB, of course. Huge news. Honestly, I didn't think we'd be talking about IP or even seeing IP here in the news at 8.5 up. But here we go, guys. It's going to be a very interesting October. Last week, we talked about kind of the next 100 days. Just a little bit of an open. Let's kind of get a quick roundup of what you guys think the next quarter four is going to be in 2024. Jirachi, I'll start with you.
I think we're going to see a resurgence of people who are interested in memes. I think it's not going to be in our normal way that we have seen in times past. Obviously, Solana has been like the dominant narrative as far as like the meme chain and being able to put things out and get volume liquidity, whatever else you want to look at on there. BNB is coming for them super hard right now. I really think we're going to continue to see a rally of people taking their opportunity to work on BSC. And for actually quite a few people who were just entered the crypto space, they've never even done, they don't even know anything about BSC. Like it's an afterthought for them at best. So I think for a lot of people, it really came out of nowhere, and they're going to do, knowing CZ, knowing how these guys operate, they put a pretty penny in. They put some serious thought into trying to control the upcoming narratives that are happening. I think we're going to see a lot of that. They're going to really run with it, and they're going to do a great job. The other thing that I have a high expectation of in the market is anybody who's launching anything privacy, anybody who's doing privacy, homomorphic encryption, like these things that are kind of dominating the narrative as far as like what people are interested in right now, they're going to win big. They're going to do very well. My other caveat to that is like heading into the holiday season, you're going to have a lot of traders, a lot of people who play in the market who are now sitting around with family, maybe not doing their normal job, maybe not doing their normal stuff. What do we as guys who do that tend to do when that kicks in? We tend to look at charts and we tend to do all kinds of things. So I think we'll continue to see quite a bit of that. I think it'll be good. I think we're looking at a good time heading into November, December for sure.
How about you, Jose?
Yeah, I'm in a pretty similar camp. Certainly bullish going into November. I think we'll start to see, Bitcoin really track alongside the global liquidity index going into November, maybe into December. But following the 4-year cycle, I do think that we'll peak for Bitcoin around the end of the quarter here. and we'll start to see alts take a bit of a hold finally. That's going to be pretty exciting. I'm looking at ETH finally breaking above the 5K mark with confidence this time, and Solana starting to get some light in the sun as well. And I agree with the meme thesis. I think we may see a bit of a surgence in AIs as well, as we see some new launches there coming out. I like the commodities trend as well, gold and some non-crypto coins or tokenized stocks. We're doing that as well at VDEX. We actually just listed Apple yesterday. So I think we'll start to see everything that maybe coins that haven't gotten so much time lately, they'll start to be what everyone's talking about.
Yeah, to give you guys my thoughts from last week, really, for me, it's exciting to see just a lot of movement. We're going to have, for OGs in this space, this airdrop season is going to be monstrous with OpenSea, with MetaMask, with Meteora, and quite a few other things that are coming out as well. It's going to be an interesting time for liquidity to be flooding into the market, at least from a strategy standpoint. And I mean, I'm wearing the BNB chain shirt for a reason. I've never been a BNB guy, I'll be honest. I mean, I was back in the day, it was BSC, Polygon, and Ethereum mainnet with a sprinkle of Phantom Opera here and there. Just seeing that BNB is actually being talked about, which is kind of hard, because if you think about Binance Smart Chain or BNB chain, it's not the most decentralized chain out there. It's also one of the oldest architectures out there. Everybody's got a spam bot out there. It's kind of crazy just to try and trench out there. But CakePad just launched. Binance this morning, it's not on the agenda. $1 billion in incentives to developers they're giving out for Q4. So if you're a builder and you're looking for a place to go, whether it's CakePad, 4.meme, BNB might be the spot this holiday season, guys. We'll see. Are they going to have a Solana type of resurgence with regards to the meme coin scene? They're not sure, but if it is, good luck to everybody out there. It's tough. It's tough sledding on BNB, trying to get ahead of people. So we'll see what happens there. Anyway, we'll go ahead and move on to the rest of the news for today. First on the list, this was interesting. So from Shane Copland, he's the founder of Polymarket. Let me put this up bigger. They have a partnership with ICE, not that ICE, the same one that Coinbase is a part of, the Intercontinental Exchange, the owner, the umbrella organization for the New York Stock Exchange and related markets. They are popping $2 billion into Polymarket. I think it's a 10% share, 10% stake into Polymarket. To me, this is really big news. Not just because Shane Copland got the middle finger from an older senator recently at a government hearing, but I mean, it's bringing them into the spotlight. Jirachi, 18 months ago, Polymarket was still trying to figure out how to get normies to onboard USDC into the market because they're a Polygon project. What a jump for them, man. First, X, because they're partnered now with Twitter's the official market, prediction market, and now Wall Street.
And look, me and you, we were just discussing a couple of short months ago, like, man, what's going on with Polygon? Like, if only there was more activity on the chain, but they just have this one thing that's their kingmaker, and we're not seeing everything else come with it. Oh, whoa, how the time has changed. How the time has changed for sure. And then we also additionally, like, with the announcement that Kalshi was going the direction that it was going as it related to the US markets and the legality behind being able to use it and everything in between, we just didn't, like usual in crypto, we just didn't know. We had no idea what was coming. We didn't know what was coming down the pipe for us in regards to this. And, I see this now and it makes me even more excited because good luck letting a few years go by and administration change, whatever you might be concerned about, in the face of billions of dollars flowing in. Usually money is the key to like the grease of the wheel and everything else. I think with stuff like this, it just makes me more bullish. Like, I'm excited to see what else pops out, what else is able to be supported. If this is legal, what else can be legal? Always my favorite question to ask. I'm trying to get rid of as much of the gray area as possible and put as much as we can firmly into the light. Like, don't just make us operate in this gray area. Give us the light. Like, give us the go ahead to go do more and do these things. When I see stuff like this, that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah. So Jose, and I know you're a younger guy, but just for myself and Jirachi, it's kind of interesting to see speculation coming out into the mainstream like this, right? Like for me, even now, it's weird for me to see spreads on ESPN, on Sports Center, like they're talking about DraftKings, things that are just like, they have bad beats. It's a really great segment on just bad spreads where they totally get hosed. To me, this is wild because this is like true movement of just ethos and what's bringing in money. I mean, also with prediction markets being just a huge narrative now in a very
Yeah,
simple structure, right?
Yeah, it's pretty inspiring what Shane has been able to do in terms of normalization for crypto. It's sort of the opposite case than Kalshi, where it's actually a centralized backend and they're trying to masquerade as a crypto project. But the backend, as you said, is on Polygon, and we can talk about Polygon as well. They've been my favorite project from the last cycle, and they've haven't had as much good luck this time around, but they started from Polygon. They're on Solana as well. So it's a fully decentralized execution layer, but they're being able to acquire this sort of mainstream attention from the old guard. And they're now regulated in the US. And that's what that's going to do for the entire ecosystem is going to be very powerful. We're also going into the prediction market space. So being able to do leverage prediction markets and perpetual prediction markets. So building on Polymarket's data. Very interesting because we had the opportunity to possibly partner with Kalshi as well, but they've been acquiring that crypto native talent, ICO Beast, John Wang, but
Yes.
not really doing in the work on the back end, in my opinion.
True. And
Well,
I mean, look, like for me and Chris, it used to be much more like you had to go find a guy who was running a book out of an account he had from some provider from Rhode Island. Like there was this whole thing you had to go through just to be able to wager on sports, much less everything else that's kind of come this way now. So, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the wave. I've many times, everybody has heard me harp up the lack of decentralization, the lack of all my problems that typically come with not adhering to the original ethos that we all like know and love and came on board for. But especially with stuff like Hyperliquid poking their nose around, people just don't care anymore. It's crazy. But I definitely agree with you about them being a product masquerading as a crypto product that's actually just for consumers. Like it's Web 2. It's very focused on that market. It's so simple, like that South Park's writing episodes about them. You know what I mean? Like that's
Right.
the way it goes.
Wait, it's funny. Did you just poke fun at Hyperliquid as well?
I can't help myself whenever I get my chance. Not that I don't love trading on Hyperliquid. I do. I have a disgusting amount of volume that's filtered through them. But at the same time, what's decentralized nowadays? 16 nodes? I don't think so. I don't think so personally.
All located in one block in Miami? No, not according to me.
No, I don't think so.
I love it. I love it. Well, what's interesting is it's interesting timing because I wonder, with Polymarket gaining all of this, Sandeep Naliwal, we talked about this 6 months ago, taking the helm because he's the largest holder in the DAO of Polygon. I didn't know that was the way you did it, but good for him. But he's talking about bringing Polygon to the next level, Validium, 105,000 plus TPS. Is it interesting timing that Polymarket's having all of these things happen? I don't think so. I think things happen for a reason. But I will tell you another group that's been silently moving, acquisitions, really interesting projects. And I think what I think is crazy is that S&P didn't even mention them here in the press release. And that is let me bring it up. S&P Global now has the 50. Actually, it's called the Digital 50, the Digital Markets 50. My apologies. It includes 15 crypto assets and 35 tokenized stocks. Really interesting idea here. And it's being brought on chain through Denari. Denari Global, using the indices here. Interestingly, Denari runs on Avalanche. So AVAX, with all of the great acquisitions they're doing with talent, with all of the L1s that are coming online, all the big Web 2 brands coming to AVAX. Now S&P with Dow Jones with these indices to come up with an interesting ETF, or rather index fund, specifically for digital assets and tokenized stocks, one by one, that all in once, right, Jose?
That's what we say.
Yeah,
And
little by little.
I mean, super. I actually didn't even really know about Denari before this announcement, but we're actually pretty ingrained in the Avalanche ecosystem as well. So, been loving what they're doing in terms of tokenizing stocks and in terms of talent as well, bringing on Vo. We actually are working very closely now with Mikkel, who's another big Avalanche influencer. So they're definitely looking like something I have my eyes on.
Love it.
I got super avalanche pilled during all these conferences. As a matter of fact, very AVAX pilled during some of
Really?
these. I went to some really great events that they put on, and I met a bunch of other builders who are doing these really amazing things and focused on building this awesome tech. And it was like, man, this does not just feel like the 70th like L2. Like, it doesn't feel like, something like that. That's not how people talk about it. And that's not how their community treats it either. So especially with, like you mentioned, the advent of Bo and like them bringing on more talent like that, which I feel the same way about, when I see people like Kalshi, like investing in good talent and bringing on natives and bringing on people like us, that makes me bullish. It makes me excited because they should be doing stuff like that. Whereas Avalanche, like, I feel like can be so quiet. Sometimes I don't hardly see anything about them on the timeline. I don't hardly see as much information, as much come out. And yet whenever I go to the events and I meet these builders in person, they're like, we're doing the latest, greatest, coolest shit in the game. Like we're doing the greatest stuff ever. So I walked away very excited about them. I thought it was awesome.
Sorry, I thought it was muted. No, completely agree. AVAX, for people who don't know, is kind of like my second home. And I don't say that because I own 4 figures in NFTs from AVAX, but anything that AVAX can do to get them not necessarily back to that $135 level for AVAX, but really just to get the buzz. They're doing a lot of really great infrastructure plays. I'm really excited to see what happens, with all the stable coins they brought on. We talked about the new Korean won with a tier 1 Korean bank that's coming on chain for a digital won. There's more of these coming. There's the Wyoming stablecoin was announced originally on there as well. There's a lot of things happening on AVAX that people aren't talking about, and I hope that people kind of wake up to the fact that L1s still have a place in this infrastructure. A lot of people will talk about L2s, right? Anything with Base, Superchain, Arbitrum Orbit, all of that stuff. Awesome stuff. But they're still building great stuff at Avalanche. You can literally get your own L1 in less than 5 minutes with AvaCloud. So it's going to be very interesting to see where we go with the narrative here in Q4. One other project that we've been really bullish about. I just saw the trending. It's International Lesbian Day. Congratulations. Happy day. Jupiter is launching their own stablecoin. This is news from this morning. They actually do their stuff that's cashed on the screen. They do this right before our show, actually. So sometimes I'll catch something when I'm doing the prep for the production. And this is going to be interesting because let's be honest, Jupiter has built an amazing moat over the last 2 years. They've got Jupiter everything, Jupe Sol, they've got Jupe Perps. They even have their own smart contract wallet, which is Jupe Pro now. But having a stable coin, not necessarily what I thought was going to be on the menu, but they're partnering with Athena on this, and frankly, it makes a lot of sense. Now they're doing something different with this. They're partnering with Athena so that Jupe USD will be mostly collateralized by 100% collateralized by USDTB, which is the partnership they have with BlackRock for the treasury bills backed version of Athena, because USDE is backed by validator staking and futures. So this will be an interesting move from them to see how this plays in the system as USDE starts to kind of make its way in there with the backing over time. I would love to see this in JLP personally, because they have USDC as the other stablecoin that's there using Jupe USD along with Jupe Sol, BTC and ETH would be an interesting play here. But I don't know, Jose. What do you think? Everyone's got a stable coin coming out, I guess, which is, I guess, good overall. But I think it makes sense for Jupiter because they've been building such a huge moat for the last 2 years, both on desktop, laptop, mobile. What are your thoughts?
Well, there's a lot to dive into there. I'm going to start actually with where I think Jupiter's constrained, and that's by being on Solana. Of course, hasn't had a whole bit of luck. Solana was actually not one of my favorite chains in sort of the years leading up to this bull market. I was not all for the meme coin casino craze, but now it seems like they are putting in the work. We see a lot of tokenization. I believe the majority of tokenized stocks are over on Solana. That may surprise some listeners. And then we have a lot of stablecoin activity here. So I'm really liking the direction that Solana and Solana protocols are moving in. In terms of this specifically, I think partnering with Athena is very interesting. Of course, Athena is much more Ethereum pilled. So what I'd like to see from Jupiter is, well, and where I think this can take them is maybe leaning in more to abstraction. So one of the problems with stablecoin craze is that there's all these different coins that normies have to keep track of. They're not going to know the difference between USDB, USDH, USD, whatever, right? And so that's going to be hard to keep track of. So one thing that we're looking at very closely is how do you make that a convenient experience for the user? USDC is the major collateral for Jupiter, Hyperliquid, Paradex, whoever. And so being able to abstract that for the user, both in terms of the stable coins, but also in terms of chains, getting Jupiter to be on Ethereum where a lot of the Athena users are. So I think that'd be pretty interesting at overall making it easier and seamless onboarding experience.
Yeah, we talked about last week with Phantom releasing Cash, Jirachi with partnership with Stripe, which I thought was also an equally huge thing because it's for the most part a somewhat decentralized stablecoin in that case. Doing this with Athena also I think is in that same vein. I think it's great. Obviously, great longstanding projects on Solana like Perenna, like Hubble. I'm leaving some others out, even the old Saber, for example. So there is the culture for it there. To me, Solana's never been that big of a DeFi chain anyway, but it's starting to kind of turn the corner onto that. Maybe Fogo changes that. But I just want to get your thoughts on, the idea of having Solana native stablecoins. It has worked out well, right? Look at PYUSD. PayPal USD, frankly, died on Ethereum mainnet. Very little, but it heads over to Solana, and suddenly it's the bee's knees, and everyone's using it. Same thing with Paxos USDG. Huge adoption on there as well. So what are your thoughts?
My two big ones are, one, I would say the way that they're collateralizing this stable in particular, I like particularly. I like that they're using T-bills to do it. I like that it's already a tokenized asset that exists from an ultra high trust provider from like the traditional finance ecosystem. Why am I so bullish on that? Because they're essentially making the bet that as long as the US government continues to be a thing, that their stables will be good, like that they'll be pegged to something that has real world value. It'll be less of a concern than like the vapor yield or vapor collateral that you get with a lot of these other algorithmic coins. The other place where I'm kind of, I to your second point, what we were talking about with stables on Solana, my problem with all the derivatives of stable coins is I don't even think half of them have a real use case. And of course, their answer often for that is like, well, the use case is to have a stable coin. And it's like, yes, I completely understand. But like when let's look at, let's take Polymarket, for instance, right? I can dump stables onto there and I can do it the way that they want it. And I can actually go and I can use it for exactly that product, that tool that's one of the most popular on the chain that everybody's using. You've got to do that. With these other ones, it very much so feels like we're making it to make it because we want to capture some of that TVL from the craze and the hype, but without a sound use case for what exactly it's going to do and to be for, to trust and rely that people are just gonna adopt it seems ridiculous to me. It just feels like, how many times have we seen people build because the people will come, like because people are gonna adopt it, of course, time and time and time again, like, and we've been let down repeatedly by it, except now we have people who are pegging their net worth to this. You know, they're dumping it all into stables so they can farm these different pools they're coming out with that are also vapor yield, for the record. Like, it's artificially high so that they can reward people for getting their TVL to grow and do all these different things. Once again, I am not fading people for doing the thing. Like, this is what you do in this space when you're doing stuff like that. What I'm fading is not coming up with an actual usage use case for it. Whereas, let's even take Hyperliquid for example. Like, you know, Arbitrum USD, like, you know, they're stable. I can go and I can put that on there. I have a use case for it. I'm trading perps. Like, you know, that's what I'm doing. Without something like that to back it up, I struggle to see where the value is going to come from to the individuals who are using it. And that's kind of how I feel about Jupe stablecoin. I'm very much so like, where does this fit into your ecosystem, your suite of products beyond, oh, we want to have a stablecoin? You know, I need to see something. Give me something. A casino, you know, I don't care. Just give me something.
I think you're going to get it in Q1 2026 because they're building JupeNet, as you know. They have the Instadap partnership, so now you have Fluid. JupeLend is cross ecosystem, so you have all of that playing. I don't know if they're not using 4626 vaults for that. I don't know exactly the tech on that, but it's going to be interesting to see how it moves in. Before, the whole stablecoin talk was really, how do we take all the dominance away from Tether, right? So from that side, that makes sense. But you're right, from the user side, why would I use USDH over something like PayPal USD? Because that's in my mobile app. I can use that right now. Or if I love MetaMask and I want MUSD, why would I use anything else but anything of those products? Now they're backed by practically all the same organizations, which is kind of funny. So it's almost like, why use one debit card over another in the crypto space, right? Because they're practically all from the same group. So maybe it's just, you know, 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. It's good to see some competition, but hopefully it's not at the expense of people losing peg, right? Because that's the other thing too, right? Because right now USDAI, great project, really happy with them. They're way over peg. So they need to figure out, you know, how to fix that to kind of keep everything kind of in harmony. But I think we'll get it. It's just a matter of, and maybe it's funny because when walking this conversation, all I could think about from last week was that Swift is using Linea and for banking, as opposed to everyone just going and getting their own stablecoin now. They're just going to use Swift, it looks like. That remains to be seen. But I think with Jupiter having their version of V-Bucks or Robux, I think, to me, that makes the most sense as to why they're going to do it. To me, that makes the most sense. Well, I guess we'll see, right? I mean, I've always been bullish Jupiter because I want to see somebody do DeFi in Solana. Might as well be Jupiter. You know, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. The whole Meteora partnership is going to be interesting as well, seeing where Jupe USD could be played into as well. But yeah, I mean, as long as it's well collateralized and I mean, work in something where Jupe stakers get a piece of that revenue.
Hey, this is an open message to the Jupe team. If you want me to build something baller that uses just your stablecoin, hop in my DMs.
There we go. Simple as that.
You know, we were talking about, and I hope you do that, Jirachi, because one of my biggest concerns this cycle is, well, my favorite game is, you know, what's going to blow up the bull market. And, you know, of course, last time it was a stable coin. We're talking about depegging, vapor yields. What's going to be this cycle? You know, there's the MSTR, the token treasury vehicle argument. Could also be El Clasico, the another stable coin depegging. Curious what you guys think to that extent.
Liquidate Michael Saylor's shares so that I can watch the timeline absolutely melt to pieces. It would be such a bad day for all of us, but it would be a day though. It'd be crazy.
It would be entertaining, and as they say, the most likely outcome is the most entertaining one. I think that's Elon's razor.
Yeah,
that's that's one way to put it. Elon's razor. Yeah, I mean, gosh, I mean, with Datcos and everything kind of going crazy, it's such an interesting leveraged bet in that direction. You know, for people to actually put in huge SPACs and pipes out there, literally just to get Litecoin or, you know, other. There's a Pengu one. There's an XRP one. I think there's also one for Bonk. Actually, that makes sense. But regardless, the fact that regular companies that sell medical equipment or, that do real estate properties are going all in on specific assets, to have as their war chest. I'm absolutely terrified of what's going to happen if there's a hard landing, because all of that just goes away, like nuked to particles in the event that we get a hard landing. So I'm hoping I'm cautiously optimistic, right? We want more adoption. This is going to drive adoption, right? We want that to happen. But at what cost is it going to be when, certain houses of cards start to fall? Because there's a lot of speculation going on. There's no guarantee that any of this actually is still around in 3 years. A lot of this is just really well-funded experimentation. Let's put it that way. But we've got a beautiful economy that's being built, and hopefully we'll learn a little bit more about what's going to happen after this quick little break. But I wanted to thank Jose from VDEX, Jirachi from Dresser from being here. Fantastic conversation so far. If you like what you're hearing, please like, subscribe, please follow our guests. We'll have all of that in the responses on Twitter and also in the show notes. You can find the show notes actually if you want to come over to our free group called Total Value Locked. For those of you who've never heard of us at Beacon DeFi, we have helped onboard tens of thousands of people safely and securely into DeFi and blockchain investing and Web3 over the last 4 years. And you can check out our absolutely free group, school.com/beacon. Learn from the best and the best. We have lots of free content. Check out our Start Here page I'm clicking on the wrong screen. With our Start Here post for a message from myself and our co-founder, Andrew, you can see all of our paths that are here, our Introduction to DeFi course. If you want more and you're a high net worth investor, join our Beacon Mastermind. You'll get the one-on-one mentoring there from me personally, as well as being with the best of the best in all of our resources. Or you can take our Beacon Challenge, earn your first dollar in DeFi within 48 hours. Check that all out at school.com/beacon. Oh, Jirachi. Today we got some news from Stanny himself. And you may have heard things about this out east. Aave has released more details on what is V4 of Aave going to be. They want to turn themselves into DeFi's operating system by using something called hub and spokes, where you can have liquidity centers with spokes which represent custom lending rules. So multiple markets that can be cross-chain now, of course, thanks to 4626 and other initiatives. I mean, I am dead serious about getting all into Pendle PT markets with this type of setup. I think this is really interesting. Even tie in some of the new V4 stuff with Uniswap. I think this looks like a very interesting idea. Tie in the fact that Across this morning mentioned some new things they're releasing, which is specific liquidity bridging both ways to Solana, Hyper EVM, and Plasma. We are looking at a very interesting setup here, even with Aave partnering with CowSwap specifically for swapping on the core market. We have a cross ecosystem lending AMM super juggernaut forming here, in my personal opinion. Jose, I'll start with you. I don't know how much you use Aave, but it's obviously the granddaddy when it comes to AMMs here in this space. But this is an interesting little wrinkle in what they've done previously to hopefully, from the iteration of just the V2 markets to even V3, now at V4, having these liquidity hubs in multiple places to kind of get things a little spicy. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I use it from a client perspective, have some big WBTC loans on Aave, but I'm not super intelligent on the back-end infrastructure and what's actually going on there. But I will say that we've talked a lot about fragmentation in stablecoins and giving that customization to individual lending markets, I think is going to be pretty powerful. And of course, we're about all things omni-chain and cross-chain here at VDEX. So any time that we can abstract that for the user too is a good thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. What's interesting about this, Jirachi, is Stanley's on record for saying after V4 comes Aave app chain. So, oh man, this is going to be an interesting little wrinkle. I'm curious to see what everyone does with this.
And look, like they build the app chain and if they're very particular and deliberate about what it's for and what they want it to do and compatibility working for like what I think that they want to do. My assumption is that they're going to make it dramatically easier for you to build cross-chain lending markets, which it would go right into their ethos, like that would make perfect sense to me. I think the problem of fragmentation shows back up for them in getting to that stage. Like you run into the issue again where it's like, hey, yes, it's all happening right here. Yes, that's super good. But the reality of the matter is like how many people are going to want to build a dApp like on that stack for anything other than the purpose of what it already exists for, which is lending, Not that that's once again a bad thing. That's a great thing. Like they should do it, do the thing, keep going. My concern was so like I've seen governance be the issue that holds up upgrades like this, especially with this hub and spoke model, right? Does this increase the number of conversations, votes, whatever it might need to be that need to happen for new people who are interested in touching that liquidity to get engaged with it? How many layers of extra problem is that? Have they now set it up so that it's actually equally or more problematic to go and use them rather than use somebody else? They're very, very, very smart. I highly doubt that any of that's happened, but I don't know. You know what I mean? I just haven't dug into it. And so that's the only pause that I have is, if me as somebody who is building using them, if I'm going around and I'm like, okay, well now I need to have it put to a governance vote for me to access this one and this one and this one too. My line of credit needs an increase, but just on this particular spoke or this particular hub, whatever it might need to be. How annoying and how big of a pain in the ass is that versus a carte blanche of like, here's your credit line. Like this is what you've got and what you can make happen with, I'm just curious about how it'll all be set up. And if it introduces problems for like somebody who's a builder rather than a user or even them.
Interesting. You said credit line.
I treat it like that. That's how I like perceive it sometimes. Whenever I'm like thinking about them in that way, shape and form, I perceive it as like a credit line because it kind of is, Yeah,
it is. When you think about it, I mean, I've never thought of it that way. That's actually really interesting. Huh.
They have an amazing product and they have an amazing suite of tools. So it's hard for me to imagine a world where they didn't really super think through the next stage, and I'm sure that especially with the app chain too, they're going to be very particular about what they're looking for in terms of like onboarding people to that. And you already know, like, BNB is giving out a bill, this quarter. Who knows what Aave is going to do whenever the time comes for them to distribute grants to build on their eco. It's going to be a good time for builders for sure, if the process is good.
And I think it will be. I mean, there's
one
thing
so.
that
I struggle to see
they're at the center of everything.
Right.
Yeah, they're at the center of everything. To say that they're not would be foolish because they've been at the center of all of this for years. Aave was the first dApp I ever used after sitting and trying to do research for 45 days when I first got in this space because I didn't know what to make of all this. But I could tell you one thing: Aave was the only relatable thing I could see as a savings and loan facility. So, I think this is an interesting move for them. I almost think of it as almost moving to more of a service provider as opposed to a liquidity wrangler, if you want to call it that. They could definitely use this as a model to really extend all of that and really just start making money off all these hubs. That to me, I'm like, that's what I would do personally, but I'm not them. But it's there comes a point where you build enough infrastructure and then you just let everybody have at it because it's a decentralized permissionless system. So
and like
hopefully they build for good.
Let me go build a hub. Like, let me go find people who are particularly interested in lending or putting money out into the market based off of a particular asset class. And let me treat it like I'm an LP managing that hub. You know what I mean? Like, if I can do stuff like that, I get even more excited about it because liquidity is a few phone calls away sometimes whenever you're working with like these different groups of people and they're the right folks, especially if they feel safe about it in something that's very stable and good like Aave. And you're just the person who's setting limits, terms, ideas, because then you can go around and give some really great terms, some really great options in terms of liquidity to a small pool of controlled people like perps dexes and like the groups of people who you would like to give that to for specific needs. And then I can make a little money on top of that too, which sounds like my favorite thing to do, you know?
Whoa, that just blew my mind. I'll be honest. Jose, link up with Aave V4. Let people, take out loans to then use on the perp dex and trade 1001x. Let's go.
I'm curious to get Jirachi's thoughts on this. We actually have something. I compare it to a lending market of sorts. So as we know, most perp dexes have only one stablecoin as their collateral. We didn't want to do that. We wanted to be multi-collateral. And so we take USDC, USDT. We even take actually uniquely volatile assets, so like ETH and WBTC. And the way we do that kind of functions like a liquidity, a lending market, because let's say a user puts in one WBTC worth of assets. Well, they can do a delta neutral hedge and just short one WBTC, farm the funding, or they can actually use that just to trade or acquire yield through our vaults. And if they rack up any losses, we actually store that in the back end as one BTC minus, say, some stable coins. And we don't want to basically convert it immediately, like swap it into it. And so this creates a few unique scenarios where it's actually possible that, let's say you have a bunch of losses and the value of the asset itself falls below your losses, then we actually perform a liquidation cycle similar to Aave. And that's introduced a lot of complexity. So it's very interesting for the users, wondering if we could, combine, be some sort of spoke on Aave v4.
I think that would be interesting. I would equally be interested on the vaults, like where you guys have people farming their yield and doing their thing. Do you give out like a liquid restaking token or something similar like that? Or is it just regular traditional vaults?
No, it's a traditional vault called the Virtual Market Maker. And
let me gamble with my vaults and liquidity. Let me gamble with my vaults and liquidity, please.
Hook us up. Let's make that happen. We've been doing a lot of things, mostly on the trading side, but we got a little bit of engineering bandwidth now. We can certainly get creative with it.
Dude, let's talk.
Well, let's definitely have that conversation. I'd love to be on a fly on the wall on that. But before we do that, let's actually transition. I appreciate you, Jose, for giving us the time here today to introduce to our communities here about VDEX, the zero knowledge exchange. So right now perp dexes are very, very hot. But what I love about what you guys are doing is that you're doing this with some very interesting tech, specifically where you can have fast TPS, great performance, no gas fees from any chain or country without any VPNs. Tell us a little bit more, please.
So it started 3 years ago. I dropped out of college. I created something called a zero knowledge state channel. Bitcoin users will be familiar with the Lightning Network. And we are basically a multi-party ephemeral ZK state channel. Specific differences is that, number one, it's Turing complete. So payment channels on Lightning or on a Validium or anything like that, it's pretty much restricted to Alice pays Bob. Whereas we're able to handle complex logic like a perp dex, funding rates, liquidations, that sort of thing. So I spent a few years building that with some smart people. And that's our core identity. I was a early Hyperliquid user, also have a disgusting amount of volume over there, and super impressed with their product, but not their infrastructure. And so I wanted to build something that was truly decentralized, full self-custody, proof of reserve on a continuing basis for users, along with a few other benefits. So number one, no VPNs for US users, which is a first in perp dexes. It's only possible because it's user-to-user, peer-to-peer execution. We also have the fact that it's omni-chain. You can deposit on BSC, you can withdraw on Ethereum, you can trade against a user who deposited on AVAX, multi-collateral, as we said, whole bunch of benefits like that. But it looks and feels like a normal perp dex. Decent liquidity, as you can see now. We get also gold stock. So we got our first stock, Apple. We also have MicroStrategy, as we were discussing. So any bears can 40x MSTR in the chat. And yeah, we're just pretty much going. It's always been technology first for us, but now we're really honing in that perp dex experience.
Yeah, I need a referral code to go move a little bit forward because I know that you guys are currently in private beta or public beta, as a matter of fact. So, just kind of wanted to really just get into the basics of it. You use something very interesting called virtual rollups that power VDEX. Could you go a little bit into just from a high level view how they work and how they make your zero gas mechanism work?
Yeah, so think of it like a safety deposit block. Let's say that we're all hanging out in Bangkok or New York or something. We do like a lot of card roulette at the restaurants, and we don't really want to do that. Instead, what we can do is let's say we all put 2K into some safety deposit box, some safe, and we just lock it up there. And then we go to all the restaurants. Sometimes I pay, sometimes you pay. Jirachi, he picks up the tab as well, and collect all these receipts. And then when it actually comes to settling this escrow, we just go to the safety deposit box, we show our receipts, and boom, we settle up with the escrow that was previously established. And so this is good for a few reasons. Number one, well, it's over collateralized. You already have the escrow that was locked, but you don't need to worry about the transactions in the moment. So you are getting that signature. If it's a restaurant, you're getting the signature of yourself or whatever. But making this analogy on the blockchain itself, what's actually happening here is that you're locking some USDT in Ethereum or in any chain. You're putting it into a vault, and then you're getting a receipt or a balance state, and you're able to treat that balance state as a token almost. You can kind of consider it bridging. I don't like to do that because it's more sophisticated than bridging, but it's a very helpful analogy. And then you trade those balance states with other users. Let's say you make a bunch of profit. Then the moment I make that trade, I'm signing it, the counterparty is signing it, so there's no backsies, right? I have a new balance state, and that balance state at any moment is redeemable for on-chain escrow. And it gets a bit more complex. We look into edge cases, but that's pretty much how it works. And because it is peer-to-peer exchanging those balance states, there's no gas. If you're in the same location, it's sub-millisecond finality. It's agnostic to the underlying blockchain. And it's peer-to-peer, so it's not it's permissionless, trustless, and most importantly, maybe to users, is there's no government that can block a specific user, and there's no restrictions really on what we're able to list.
Jirachi, do you have any questions? I'm still trying to wrap my head around the P2P part.
And as we get some questions from Jirachi, I'd like to say that for you and all your listeners, the DeFi Professor is your referral code. So,
nice.
Hell yeah. I'm gonna make
very nice.
Similar, just DeFi Professor. There you go. I got 20 uses for you and all your users. So, DeFi all caps, DEFI all caps, and then actually Professor as well, and then that should let you and 19 of your listeners in.
Well, good luck to all the rest of you 19, because I'm taking it. I'm going. Jirachi, you and I we're both old tech heads. We're code warriors. This stuff is interesting. Using virtual rollups, P2P, type of infrastructure. Go with your question. My fault.
No, I have so many questions. Because I'm very. Are you guys ever planning on letting people build on top of your tech stack? Like, do you have an app chain coming by chance or something similar?
Yeah. So actually, we that was sort of the original idea. So we actually built this technology first for games. We wanted to go
that's what I was thinking.
One of the underlying concepts here is called mental poker. So we very took that literally. Casinos, gaming. We partner with a bunch of games, but it was pretty complex because we didn't build a virtual machine, and so we were card coding circuits for every new game rule that we wanted to build in. So that was like a year and a half of my life that could have been better used. But we found perp dexes as a good use case because they're all the same. A perp dex is a perp dex is a perp dex, by and large. And so it was pretty simple, and that's how we're basically manifesting our underlying technology and demonstrating its capability to users, but always at the core is to build something that other people can build on. So if it's going to be first white labeling our PerpDeX and allowing other people to, take an out of the box solution and find their own user base, number one. But number two, it's going to be building a full virtual machine that, the way I view it, is hard forking Ethereum's consensus. Because once you have something like VDEX or virtual rollups on Ethereum, there's going to be no real reason to settle directly on chain, because the safety deposit box mechanism means that you can at any time continuously exchange updated states, and it functions almost like a centralized in the best scenario. But if it's ever any sort of dispute, you have those states that were signed again in the moment of the transaction, so no backseas, and then you go to the underlying network. So you only ever need to use the underlying network in case of a dispute.
Will you have an Explorer, or do you have an Explorer available now?
We don't have one now, but certainly that's something that we'll look to do. It gets kind of complicated because by default, well, actually, because it's dark pool. So
right.
the users are the only ones that have awareness of their transactions. So we could do an Explorer, but it's not really going to show much information unless we fundamentally change the architecture.
I would be for the use case with the Explorer, the one that I'd be more interested in is like once people can build on top of what you've created and like what you've done, just so that you can go and you can be like, hey, these contracts look malicious. This looks like this. Maybe they're open or they're closed or some combination of thereof. Because of course, as soon as you're public and people can build on top of it, there'll be an open source community they're gonna gobble up the opportunity to build like cool things on top of that, where it makes sense, where there's liquidity, where there's trades and actual volume happening. And so You've done a quarter bill and volume so far. Is that cumulative, like since the start of time, or since you've started doing perps only? And then I know you're working on predictions market. That's going to come down the timeline too. Will we be able to do the same thing with predictions markets, where it'll be kind of like this white label opportunity to build on top of it and do these different things? And if that's the case, we have so many more conversations to have after this, like so many.
I look forward to those conversations, Jirachi. Well, starting with the quarter bill, yeah, actually that's new to me. I mean, I looked at it last night and it was like 220. So a lot of that volume has been in the last month or so, but it is cumulative since we started the PerpDeX over the summer. And so in terms of OV prediction markets, yes, so that's actually live now on testnet and launching on mainnet next week. That's per our partnership with SETA and Polymarket. And they are going to be with leverage. So that's kind of an experiment, because leverage and prediction markets never been done before, ever. There's reasons for that. So that's going to be firmly an experiment. But in terms of per prediction markets, they're going to be, liquid markets. First, also alpha to you guys. First market's going to be, will MetaMask launch a token in 2025? So 2x leverage.
I think we know the answer.
I think, well, if you're so sure, right? I think it's a 20% or so on Polymarket. So that's a 5x if you're on Polymarket, or a 10x if you're leveraged. So, if you're so sure.
That's a fair point.
And Jirachi, I don't know if
did you say Zeta? Sorry to interrupt you. Did you say Zeta as in Zeta Chain?
SETA. They're an Oracle provider.
Oh, okay. My fault. Go ahead.
I'm making sure I get my invite put in right now while we're talking.
I made one all lowercase because I realized the caps was kind of confusing. So you can either do now just DeFi professor all lowercase. About the Explorer as well, one neat thing, and I'm getting really in the weeds here, so you may need to pull me back out, but the contracts that are on Ethereum or Arbitrum or Avalanche or wherever actually give you all the information you need to know in terms of basically the legitimacy. So how this works in terms of the contract being atomic, you're depositing and you basically get that receipt, and you could simulate that receipt is able to withdraw your escrow, right? And then you're going to do all sorts of transactions, and you're going to basically, let's say I send to go 10x leverage on BNB. And then I'm going to receive, if it goes well, I receive another state that has my new balance. And then you can accumulate states through some sort of Merkle tree, right? But let's say that the front end does not return that state to you. You then know that you can then take this state and then put it on chain and then receive your balance as well. But let's say the edge case that the counterparty generates your signature but doesn't return it to you. So the handshake problem. Well, no problem, because the way the dispute works is if that happens, that balance state that you sent out and that you would have signed, because it's all it's Byzantine fault tolerant, so all users sign all states.
Excellent.
That is it's going to show that you did have that BNB position, but it's going to show the exact same margin. So it's basically always allows users to, if there is any sort of miscommunication, whether it's malicious or not, then you use Ethereum or the underlying blockchain as the DEX itself, which would be, horribly inefficient way to use it. But because of how rare that is, that's the fallback mechanism.
No, I love it. You still get the opportunity to interact with contracts directly where you might need to be able to save your ass from a problem that occurs that you weren't expecting. Meanwhile, you don't have to worry about, even if you did need some time, like if there was an issue with the front end or whatever was being put up, you're not screwed. It's not the same thing as it normally is, where it's like, congratulations, it's still open, like, or I'm not going to get the money back, or whatever combination of those things. So I do dig that. That's very cool, especially if something really bad happens. Like, you can always set up a rudimentary claims page to be able to get people through the process, and they can handle it, and it's not such a big deal. Yeah.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. We're actually going to launch an IPFS once we're out of beta.
Nice.
We're going to launch an IPFS front end, do all that. And even if like we want to be like, pure cypherpunk roots and make it like, as self-custody as possible, or just pure self-custody.
Yeah.
But if users don't want to figure that out, then they can actually just send out their states. And if there is a dispute started by only the counterparty, then after the dispute period is over, where the user can dispute, then these intent solvers basically can actually then submit any sort of dispute on behalf of the user. And that's not giving away your keys, because you can't generate new states. And so you're just able to, execute on behalf of another user, so that in the worst case scenario, even if your computer drops in a river and you don't have the locally stored states anymore, then those can be submitted on your behalf.
Jose, you're not located in Texas by chance, are you?
I'm not. I'm in Buenos Aires, actually. So if you're going to come down for,
I am. I'll be there for DevConnect for sure. Absolutely.
I'll see you in a month and a half.
I owe you a beer, no fucking question. Absolutely. That sounds like
I want to be there for the beer. That'd be great.
You're coming.
I am coming.
I know. It'll be
yeah,
perfect.
I'm going to DevConnect this year for sure.
I was sad the last place we got to reunite was in NYC, because it was the worst time for us to. Like, there was too much going on, and it was the middle of the night.
And I was tired. I'm like, interestingly enough, I could have hung out with Mick at the abstract party, but I went to this party instead, where I saw Jirachi. I'm like, oh, this is a much better place. But it didn't last very long. That was the only bad thing. They kicked us out after a little bit. But two quick questions, Jose. Then we'll wrap up, because I want to be respectful of your time. Thanks for being here, of course, today. On your site, people are going to ask a little bit about this virtual market maker, as well as your roadmap. So kind of go through a little bit about how the VMM works, and then what's on the plans for VDEX, because I'm very interested in this. I think this is super cool. This is way different than what I thought we were going to find today in terms of your perp deck. So congratulations.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, I've explained the underlying architecture, and then VDEX functions as a perp DEX, pretty much. Not so much special going on there beyond the volatile collateral, ETH, and so on. In terms of the VMM, it's a vault. Basically takes all of the capital lent to it effectively. It sets up the market. So if you were to check out BTC, all of those orders are pretty much set up by the VMM, and then it takes the returns of those and it pays them back to the users. It also takes in, right now we're paying out 100% of fees. Now the VMM kind of got wrecked by the Zcash listing. So we actually became the most popular destination for Zcash, as we had the highest leverage, and we're one of the first listers. And so that was pretty exciting. So that we did kind of get wrecked there. Problem right now we have is that we don't have APIs. So the only way to trade is on the interface. Good news is that one of our devs have been cooking on that for a while, and we already have some partnerships lined up with Kronos and Keyrock. So we're gonna basically be able to rebalance so that the VMM is not taking the entirety of the position. That's gonna make the returns a lot more stable. So it's all definitely been building the airplane while it's in the air, and that's why you see not super exciting return of the. You can go to 1 year on the VMM. You'll see it's a bit better on that side. But other than that, it's a standard vault, and it's currently taking in all the fees right now. And as our volumes have 10x'd since last Wednesday when we launched our InfoFi campaign and our points campaign. That's been pretty exciting. So we'll be looking to be paying into a lot more fees there, and maybe after a conversation with Jirachi, tokenizing those returns as well.
All right. Roadmap. What are we looking at for the rest of the year?
Ooh, okay. So I would say the biggest one and also the soonest one is going to be the launch of Verdict, which is our prediction market architecture. So first market's going to be, will MetaMask launch a token? That's coming next week on 2x leverage. What else are we looking for? A lot more listings. Another one of the devs has been cooking on some refactoring in our code base. So some boring things, but has big implications because it's going to allow us to list a lot more tokens without weighting down the platform. And so we are going to basically go on a hyperdrive on launching tokens. We want to list all of the Magnificent 7 stocks, silver, platinum, uranium as well. And then of course, a bunch more crypto tokens as well. So we want to round up pretty much the top 100. We want to start doing individual listings as well. So I have some friends that have some tokens. We want to start listing those as well, and other suggestions. It won't be entirely permissionless listing like a HIP3 style yet, but we will be able to be a lot more flexible in how we do listings. So that's coming as well. What else? More chains. So we are not yet on Base or Solana. That is going to change very, very soon. Solana is coming in October, and Base will be not too far thereafter. And then full launch is after that. So we're going to be taking off the beta right now, which has a 24-hour withdraw cap. That's for user protection. So we want to take that off. We want to implement the full peer-to-peer system so users can take that states, put them on IPFS, and withdraw their escrow directly. That's going to be exciting. And then, of course, after a full launch, comes a launch of our token as well. So that's pretty much what we're looking for. And all of that entire roadmap is going to be coming in at Q1 at the latest. We're going to try and sprint even faster.
Amazing.
Get your trades in, guys. Get the points. Thank you so much for being here, Jose. Would love to have you back when you guys get closer to launch, just to kind of catch up and see how things are going, see how that roadmap's looked at. Thanks for joining us today. What a fantastic project. Man, Binance and Gate really found a gem in you guys, in my opinion. So really excited to see what happens with you guys. This is, guys, the reason why we love doing these calls, because this is different. This is real different in terms of what we've been looking at in terms of perp dexes. So excited to see the ripples and the splashes that VDEX makes in the future. So thanks to you, Jose, for joining us today. Let us know where we can find you.
Yes, so you can find us on Twitter, 0xVDEX, myself, Jose, Bet, and Court. But the real link I want to plug today is vdex.trade/whitepaper. That's the secret sauce. I dropped out of college, made my parents quite upset to build a technology. So building a perp dex has been the ride of a lifetime, but that's just step one. We want to build a VM. We want to build lending. We want to let other builders build on top of us. That's my 10-year vision. And so that's really all I have to say. Thank you so much for having me, Chris, and pleasure talking Jirachi as well. I think there'll be a lot more conversations, but we're looking to do something really different. And so I think we've done that.
I think you have. And just as I'm quite a bit older than you, just to let everybody know, the kids are all right, guys. Jose is living proof of this. I was also a college dropout to go and chase my tech dreams. And you can always go back. I went back, I got my bachelor's and then my MBA. And I'm glad I did it in that order, because I saw a lot more life and had a much better overall result, in my opinion, had I just stayed in school and graduated with a degree I probably wouldn't be using from the University of Florida. Go Gators. But
Go Gators.
Hey, I got to celebrate everything if they beat Texas, right? Jirachi, I want you to explain to me this post before we get you out there with Juicera. Autonomous agents and Ethereum smart contracts. What is this about, brother? What is Kratos talking about here?
So as we have continued to evolve the Drosera ecosystem and we've kind of upgraded the technology, we've adopted new ideas into what we see as being like the future of these autonomous smart contracts. It started to become really evident to us that really anything that's a smart contract or anything that's touching Solidity logic in a general sense, we can automate better, faster, cleaner, cheaper than the next available option or choice that's out there right now. So of course that led into lots of interesting conversations around agents, the response that can be provided from a security perspective and from the perspective of even something like predictions markets, handling settlements, doing all these different things. Drosera is so incredibly quick and fast and great at the response portion of being able to do anything on chain and push that activity quick that even something like having trading agents embedded with our technology actually makes perfect sense at the end of the day, because we're never more than a block behind. We're always right on top of it as it is anyways. We're always right there. So the fact is as we're beginning to discover more use cases, talk to new potential customers, talk to new people who are interested in adopting this tech, the door seemed to get wider and wider and wider with every conversation, which is fantastic. Like, we love it. We love being able to go and chat with people who we never previously would have been like, oh, there's something there. And then suddenly, well, actually, there's not just something there. There's 10 options. There's 10 different things we can do together. Gave the website a little bit of a shift in terms of some of the messaging we put out there since the last time we looked at it. But really, that's what our core ethos bubbles down to. Right now, smart contracts cannot run continuously. They can't react to events, and they can't alert you of something that's going on. Traps, our smart contracts can do all of that. They can do it in a gasless manner with infinite bandwidth. And on top of that, it makes it very, very easy to build infrastructure that exists outside of your smart contracts without the need necessarily to integrate concerning Solidity logic you wouldn't have yesterday. So especially as it relates to alerting, notification, and monitoring, we don't even need to put our logic into your current smart contracts. We can work hand in hand with them from the outside. You end up in this world where not only do you need to be concerned about, oh, hey, I've got this new thing I don't necessarily understand embedding into my on-chain contracts. You also can understand it from day one, because once again, we are just Solidity logic. We are no different than a regular contract you would write somewhere else on chain. The only difference is we can do a hell of a lot more. That's for sure. And that's really what our focus has been talking about lately, just how much more we can do. And it seems like the more people we talk to at KBW and Token, the more interested parties we found. So it was great. It was a good time.
Amazing, man. Thanks again for being here. I had a feeling when you were available that this combo would have been magic here. So appreciate you coming on. Tell people where I can find you.
Please hit up at Drosera Network on Twitter. Come look at us. Come look at our tech. Look at what we're building. Look at what we're trying to do. Tell us what you're interested in seeing and what you want to see out of this next generation of on-chain logic. And number two, I'm at OX Jirachi on Twitter. I'm happy to talk with anybody anytime. Like, open book, shoot me a DM. Chances are I'm going to see it. I'm going to respond. I'm going to get back to you quickly. Unless you're trying to pitch me on TGE services, in which case I'm not going to respond to you.
hey, he's keeping it 100 with you guys.
Just keeping it real with you. Don't waste the DM.
Again, thanks to Jose and to Jirachi for being here today. We do this show every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, like we've done every Wednesday since December of 2021. Check out this Friday. We're doing Beat the Banks, our free community training, 3 p.m. Eastern on these same channels. I think we're going to talk about research. We talked about the all-weather portfolio on the last Tuesday. We did security and staying safe because a good friend of ours got fished for a lot of money. Time to wake up, guys. Be very careful out there. There's a lot of bad actors out there, especially now in this bullish market. You know, number go up, IQ go down. Don't fall prey to that type of stuff, guys. So we'll see you on Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern. And again, thanks for being here, guys. Stick around for a second while we do our outro, and we'll see you next week with another great panel. Beacons up, banks down. Take care, everybody. Have a great day.